What's up, guys? Logan here. I'm here with the broccoli sprout meister, my good friend Mickey. Mickey and I actually used to live together, and it was really funny because before Joe Rogan got really popular, he had, who was it, Rhonda Patrick on?
Dr. Rhonda
Patrick. And Mickey listened to this podcast, and immediately, before I knew it, I walk into the kitchen, and he's like a master wizard chemist, making sure that he has enough resources to have all of his broccoli sprouts ready. And he had a lot of sessions where they became moldy and messed up and all this stuff, but every day I'd come home and he'd be telling me more and more about it. I didn't listen to him at the time, but he's back here now. The boy's back, and he came with the sprouts. So we're gonna jump in this episode to all things broccoli sprouts, what they are, how important they are, and what you can use them for, essentially, especially in the toxic world that we live in today. So go ahead and jump in with...
Sure. Do you want me to tell you how to do the process first, or do you want to tell you
I would say jump into the benefits, yeah.
Sure. Well, the benefits, there are a ton of different benefits when it comes to broccoli sprouts themselves, and I would even say conservatively, you've heard of things like superfoods. I would put broccoli sprouts as something above that. I would call it an ultra food. It's something above the rest. I wouldn't hassle with growing them if it didn't have tons of different benefits. So I'm just gonna give a really short, just the general overall, because there's so many things. I'm sure Logan will link to Dr. Rhonda Patrick's video later, which is chock full of all that stuff. But overall, the highlights are, this is, as far as we can tell, one of the most potent activators of NRF2. So these are the genes that deal with anti-inflammation and also antioxidants. So that's one of the things. Interestingly, these do have anti-cancer effects. People have taken them when they were on chemotherapy and seen improvements, and also to avoid cancer in general. There's a component when it comes to the neurological stuff. People with autism who've taken them, slightly less autistic. Alzheimer's as well, same thing. And besides that, it really comes down to, like the longevity effects and the glucose, but that's just a really short synopsis. They do so many things.
So one of the number one things, because for those of you who've been following my pages for a while, I've been very deep in the detox space. One of the things that I wasn't aware of is that there's a chemical out there called benzene. And it's actually really prolific in terms of crude oil production, lots to do with exhaust from cars. But if you go deeper into looking at this chemical, it's in things like sunscreen. You even said, pastries with cakes and stuff like that, things to make things look white?
That would be titanium dioxide.
That's titanium dioxide. But yeah, benzene, if you look into it, it actually, one, can cause cancer. Two, it decreases your immune system. And three, one of the most shocking things, other than obviously the first two I just stated, is it blocks your ability to make stem cells by messing with the bone marrow. So all stuff we don't want to deal with. In this toxic world, we need to find ways to be able to mitigate these things, and I think this is an incredible way to do so. And Mickey has so many tips and tricks that we're going to go into in this video related to how to make them properly, so that one, they taste good, and two, they're having the highest detox yields. And then two, the stuff you buy in the store, you're wasting a lot of money, like $5 for a very small packet, and a lot of these are covered in bleach.
They sometimes use a light bleach solution to keep the viral load of them down, so they're not going to be as fresh. You're never going to get them as fresh as you're going to get them at home. So, and just to piggyback off what you're talking about, benzene, the studies have been done. So if you have a serving of broccoli sprouts, within hours, I think it's like 4 or 6 hours, you start urinating out benzene, among other things. So this stuff is, whether it's benzene, heavy metals, plastics, all these sorts of things. Like Logan's a detox master, so this is a powerful tool. So
awesome. So then, how would someone get started in doing this?
Sure. So what I would recommend doing, you're going to need mason jars first and foremost here. These are good size ones. These are a gallon each. So if you want to have some for you and your family, If you were just alone, you might be able to do less, but I would stick with gallon jars. And you're going to need screen. So this is screen you can buy from Home Depot. I bought a huge swath of it, more than I would need in a lifetime for like $10.
What's it called? Metal screen? Mesh screen?
Yeah, there's just mesh screen. It's
Okay,
just a
cool.
screen like, for your window screens.
Nice.
And then, you just put that on the top here, and you have your rubber bands. And so what I recommend for people, as you can see, these are just dry sprouts. You need your broccoli sprouts. Organic or non-organic doesn't matter in my opinion, because it's the water that you're going to put in there that's going to take on whatever you're going to take. So if you don't want to spend on organic, I don't recommend it. It's not necessary.
And to clarify,
Sure.
if you go on here, on Amazon or whatever site you're ordering seeds from, they're going to have a mix. And he immediately told me, he's like, you need to get just broccoli sprouts. And I didn't realize there's tons of mixes with alfalfa and what's the other stuff?
There's microgreens. There's all sorts of things. There's the onion variety, which is very, very potent. You may not want that. And it doesn't have the benefits of broccoli sprouts. I focus pretty much exclusively on broccoli sprouts.
Yeah, so you might be looking to get cheaper priced ones, but make sure that they're pure broccoli sprout seeds. Otherwise, and they might be more expensive for that point, but you want to make sure it's fully broccoli sprout, so it's not a mix. And I think some of these companies, they will mix them because it's cheaper to put the other ones in, but we just want to focus on the sulforaphane from the broccoli sprouts.
Agreed, and that is what it all comes down to. It is about the sulforaphane. And if you do want to buy in bulk, and it's not even really buying in bulk, especially if you regularly eat them and your family eat them, buying 3-4 pounds, sometimes I'll buy myself an 8-pound bag, and it'll last me less than 6 months. It'll be good. So, when you buy in more bulk, you're going to get a better deal. So just consider.
Awesome. And then in terms of vitamins and minerals and nutrients, anything
Sure.
related to that?
Oh, mostly what I do is I focus on because when they're in their sprouted form, there's not even a lot of fiber, there's not a lot of carbs. If you're an ultra low carb keto person like I am, there's almost no carbs in it. Yes, there are some micronutrients, there's a little bit of vitamins and minerals, but they're kind of a minimal thing.
Okay.
Compared to the sulforaphane is what we all want. And not to take a small tangent, if you are looking about broccoli sprout supplements, I am unaware of any that are shelf stable outside of, there is a pharmaceutical in France, it's illegal to export it. So I'm just saying, if you're they're very expensive.
Dr. Patrick gets it from there, right?
She gets it from there, but if you want to get some of these other ones like Brocomax, that's like $2-3 a dose, and you're not even getting sulforaphane. You're getting precursors. So I recommend having the broccoli sprouts. Of course, if you're in France, how do you say?
Oui.
No, so to all the French, you guys got it down. So anyway, share with the rest of us. Anyway, so I digress. So when it comes to, you put your seeds in your mason jar here, and when it comes to dosing, by the way, my recommendation per person at a very goodly quantity, about 1/3 of a cup per person per cycle. So that's going to yield you 75 to 100 grams of broccoli sprouts per day. And I think that's more than enough to do more or less everything you want to do with sulforaphane. So
this one in particular was a little more than half a cup?
This is 2/3 of a cup, excuse me, 1/3 of a cup
yeah.
for each of us. So this one has already been grown. All of this has been grown in 3 days or less. Real simple. So
and this will last about how many days?
This will last between 3 and 4 days. So I like to keep the cycles tight. I don't know if some of you have tried broccoli sprouts that have aged 7 days or so. They're hard to swallow, you know what I'm saying? So just putting it out there. I want to give you guys all my tips and tricks, because for a long time I was just choking this stuff down. I'm like, and then I changed a lot of stuff. So anyway, I'm just starting with the basics. You got your seeds in your jar. You're going to fill the jar just above where the seeds are, and you soak them for 7 hours, 8 hours. You can soak up to 12. I wouldn't go longer than that. So you can start soaking them, leave them overnight, get up in the morning, and drain them out. Now, just a caveat on this because I'm going to tell you everything. When it comes to people who want to do multiple rinses at the beginning, I like to keep it simple. You don't need to because you're going to be rinsing twice a day. So, as we say, you start the night before, you have your water in there, then you dump it out that morning. So the seeds are still wet. So then that night, you're going to add more water to make sure all the seeds are well and saturated with water. You dump out the water. That's why we have a screen, because you want to dump the water and get as much water out as possible. There'll still be a little bit in there, but in general, that's what it comes down to. And so you'll be watering it twice a day for about 3 days. Also, along with this, a lot of people will be looking at this and you'll be saying, if you do know about broccoli sprouts, you're used to seeing them green. Green means chlorophyll, which means there's been sunlight that has gotten to the leaves, and that's what tends to make the broccoli sprouts bitter. Now I've got a secret for you. So you have this and you're growing them, and around day 2, you start to get the little yellow leaves. You want to cover this over just with a little something, just cover over like a dish towel.
You could use a trash bag if you...
Exactly. Real simple, and that keeps the sprouts from going green. And when they're yellow, they're very light, very fresh flavored, like alfalfa sprouts or that sort of thing. So very different than most people just think all broccoli sprouts are bitter because you're getting them in the grocery store, as Logan was saying. So anyway, and so toward the end here, basically after about 3 days, which this has been enough time, you take the screen off and you just put them in water and just agitate them a little bit. There will be holes, the seed holes, some of them that rise to the top and some of them that go to the bottom. And here's the thing, you can eat the seed holes. They're a little bit crunchy. I mean, there's not a lot of nutrition to them. If you didn't, you could try them with it if you wanted to, but I just like it with the sprouts. So you just pull the sprouts out. I clean the jar, just soap and water, clean the jar, stuff like this, keep everything in good, what have you. And then you put that jar ideally in a refrigerator. And after that, at that time, you're starting another cycle. So you're eating these 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, bing, these are become like those. You start over the cycle again. So every 3 or 4 days makes it super good, super fresh, and you can grow as much as you ever need. So anyway, that's kind of the basics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else?
I think that pretty much covers it in the basic way. I might add one more caveat because I know I've heard of a lot of people having issues with contamination. If you want, and I'm not talking about the broccoli sprouts themselves, some people in between cycles like to put their screens, especially sometimes their jars, in a mixture of water and bleach or some kind of thing, and obviously you wash everything off. For me, I don't ever really do that because I keep the jars clean. I take the broccoli sprouts out from a cycle, I wash it with soap, and I wash this with soap and water too, put those back in, go to this one. I've run hundreds of cycles and I haven't needed to do this.
And it's better, so for example, with storage and stuff, is it better to put it in a plastic bag in the fridge with paper towels, or do you just keep it in the jar?
I keep it in the jar.
Okay.
Yeah.
For some people though, especially with a big family, this is a massive jar. It's going to take up a lot of space. So what would be the best option for that?
Secondarily, I would put them in some containers, maybe ideally more like open containers where you can get a little bit of airflow.
Okay.
That you don't want them to stay wet. It's not like that. You want to clean the holes off, and then you want to have the sprouts. And ideally, you're eating them in 3 to 4 days at most. So we're talking fresh cycles each time, and so you're not going to deal with mold. You're not going to deal with any of that stuff because your cycles are so short.
Yeah.
So.
And then one other thing. This is a plant, so the plant is going to absorb a lot of water. So we want to make sure that the water quality is to a certain standard because a lot of this is going to be water.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. So in that sense, for what you have, do you have filtered water? Do you have spring water? Do you have ROI water? These don't need any kind of electrolytes. They have everything they need, a miracle of little seeds. But if at all possible, unless your city water, if you're on city water, or your well water is quite good, I would go with some kind of purified water, because then the seeds aren't taking on anything that isn't just pure water.
Yeah.
So
So just a reminder to anyone who's new to the channel, tap water is generally a no-no because of the chlorine, the bromine, the fluoride. We don't want that. So highest quality water you can get possible. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much about it. And like you said, these sprouts will, like you said, they do so many different things. Oh, when you're starting out, if you haven't been eating larger quantities of broccoli sprouts, do consider starting out eating 25, 30, 40 grams maybe in a serving. See how you do it, because these are this is no joke when it comes to a food.
Can you show us, just if you take that lid off right now, can you show us how much about 30 grams would be?
30 grams?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was probably a small handful. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I could do that for you. So, okay, I'll try and give you a little example here. I often will measure, but it's like a small handful.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, this might be 30.
Okay.
Obviously, if you have a home scale, better do that, because I'm eating 70 or 100 grams at a time. So I'm eating like a big burrito full, but this is less than 50, probably 30 to 50. So.
Oh yeah. And then what do you recommend putting this on?
Okay, so great question. So what I often like to do nowadays, I like to do wraps. If you're interested in turkey, you could do sliced chicken with your wraps. I do like a mayo mustard, onions, so I can do that. If you wanted to go in a different direction, you could do soups. You could heat them up, but don't take them beyond about 80 degrees Celsius, because the broccoli sprouts will denature. I've made all the mistakes. You do not want to do that. You can heat them up. There can be some benefits. Again, it's fine, but don't take it above that 80 Celsius. So, but yeah, outside of that, they're pretty mild. They're pretty mild flavored, so you can add them to a salad. There's a lot of different things you can do, but to me, it's just like, I take a tortilla, I put my stuff, put my sauce, and just power a lot. That's, just real simple.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the number one thing, especially with what you've taught me related to this, is the more that we can become sovereign with our food sources. Like, this is a great place to start. You don't need to get a cow and have a farm. You can start here and start realizing how important it is to cultivate your own food. I mean, the amount of money saved on not bleaching yourself from a lot of the stores, and a lot of the vegetables in the stores, they're like, I was looking at organic blueberries the other day. I'm reading the label. It says organic, shipped from Mexico. There's no way that's organic. There's no way that the standards, and then let alone the amount of stuff they need to spray on certain fruits and vegetables just to get it over here. And then what they're spraying in the store, I don't think is high quality. So the more we can procure our own food, the more sovereign we're going to become. So
very well said. Yeah, I think we're pretty much covered a lot of the stuff here, but it's very, very simple when it comes down to the cycling and everything. So if you do that, then it will stay very fresh. You will notice after about 5 days, the broccoli sprouts don't taste always as fresh anymore. They get the bitter taste that most people are used to when it comes to broccoli sprouts. So I really want people to enjoy this. It is so good for you in so many ways.
And then what would you say to someone who says, I don't have enough time to do that?
Oh gosh, it takes me, you can set it up in 5 minutes or less, and it takes you 30 seconds twice a day. I put a little thing in my schedule, and I just look at it. And sometimes if you're growing with somebody else, you could take the morning shift and do the watering, just literally water, just empty it, and then somebody else can take the evening shift. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and over time, when you start adding this stuff up, how different you will feel over time just from adding these little acts of love. That's what I like to call them, because they are. You're pouring time and attention into something to help it grow, so that it can help you grow on your mission and whatever you're doing in your life. The more you can put time and attention and love into your food, the more that's going to come back to you long term, especially in the form of not being stuck in the model of just getting rinsed and repeated, of being sick all the time. So the more we can have strong immune systems by making sure that our detox pathways are open and everything's getting cleared, the better. So anything else you want to say to the kids?
I think that's about it. You know, like you said, get started. You know, try them out. They're very, very good, and you know, you really do have, like, you know, I'm a bit of a control freak. You have complete control over this, as Logan said. You have complete control over what goes in here. It's just the water. It's just the water, you know. So, yeah, like I said, happy growing, people.
Happy growing. Thank you, bro.
You're welcome.